Good evening, all of you. I'm really in a tough spot here. We had a professional speaker here who really mesmerized all of us, and I learned many things today. So thank you, MG sir, for your great advice and guidance. And I learned a lot about how to tell your stories and many other things that you shared today. So thank you for being so, exciting on the stage, and really learned a lot. And this puts me under a lot of pressure because you said many things that I was going to say and many things that I'm going to contradict. So let's see how it goes, okay? So let me first congratulate Rajesh for this wonderful book. I had a chance to read his Marathi book because he left it with me, and I want to suggest just one change in the story of how we met. Actually, when he came to give me the book, the Marathi book about 10 days back, that's the first time I actually met him. But as he said, I posted on LinkedIn, but the reason I posted on LinkedIn was because I actually heard the All India Radio interview. So I was driving that day, and I don't always listen to All India Radio, but I happened to listen to All India Radio, and this particular interview was going on. And I remember, reached my office. I don't drive that far, meaning I drive about 2,000 kilometers a year. So it's not that much. So it was a very short 2-kilometer ride, and I reached my office, and it still was going on. So I stayed in the car for another 10 minutes, heard the whole thing down, and then said, hey, I have never heard this guy, but he's saying such interesting things. And for the last about 20 years, I've been working with small entrepreneurs, scaling and other things, and some of the things he shared were absolutely fascinating. So I went up, looked him up, and I am not as active on Facebook at all. So I didn't see Facebook. I looked him up. I found him on LinkedIn. And then I said, okay, let me write to him. And I sent him a message, but I also saw his post on it, which I amplified, I guess. So it's quite amazing to see how Rajesh has built a network. And to this, I want to share the following, right? Typically, when you look at your friends and your friend circle, when you say, okay, if I'm in trouble, who are the friends that I can go to? And normally you come up with a small number of people. And when it comes to saying that if I have an event and I want to brag, how many people will you come to? You get even smaller number. And when I see this audience with so many people here, all here because, Rajesh has this great opportunity to share about his book and the great work, I'm really amazed to see how many people are here, and it really talks a lot about how Rajesh has lived his life and how he has influenced so many of you. So it's a real honor to be here, and when Rajesh invited me, I of course remembered him from the conversations that we had in the past, and I thought, well, this looks like a great opportunity to meet entrepreneurs, so I thought I'd come here. So I'm really honored to, and thanks for inviting me here. I also must congratulate Pratima Band for the 50 years of Saket Prakashan. 50 years is really a big deal. We just completed 35, and I can't think the next 15. It's a big number in some sense. So congratulations on the 50th anniversary of Saket Prakashan. And also, I'm sure you will, with the next generation in place, I'm sure you will hit the 100 pretty soon, meaning in the next 50 years, I guess. So congratulations, and I hope you're having picked this particular book, which actually is very unique in many ways. It has very personal stories, very interesting personal stories that actually make you think a little bit after you read it. So that's what I found very interesting in the Marathi book, and I'm sure with Sadanandji's work, this will be an even brilliant book in terms of the English book, and I hope more and more people buy it. And reading the book is fine, but they should also buy it and then read it, is what my recommendation would be. Because if an author writes a book, the number of copies sold is a good mark of how well the book is doing. So I encourage all of you to buy the book and also give it to your friends, okay? And maybe other people also. The Marathi book is brilliant too, but with this English book, I'm sure more people across the world will be able to read it. So congratulations on all of that. When Rajesh asked me to talk about something for entrepreneurs, I thought, I'll share with you some of the work that we've been working on specifically around a program that I call Second Orbit. And the idea is very simple, and I've seen now several thousand small businesses over the years who have scaled, not scaled, and all those things. And I find that business growth is a sequence of S curves. It's not a straight line. So if you do certain things, you'll take your business to a certain level, but then you hit a plateau and then you have to find the next orbit in some sense. And the crazy or the difficult part about these orbits is that what works in one orbit actually stops working in the next orbit. And what works in the second orbit actually doesn't work in the third, and so on. So one of the toughest challenges that founders or companies have is how do you make these orbit shifts where you find and reinvent yourselves so that you can look at new ways to look at things as you go ahead. And this transition from first orbit to the second orbit is where the founders need to reorient themselves. And that makes it even harder for founders, because founders, when they start a business, they're thinking about themselves, their company, and it's all around them. And when they start to say, okay, I want to scale the business, and to some extent, MG sir also talked a little bit about the fact that you need a team for execution, and how do you bring other people into the game. And so those are really challenging times for various kinds of businesses to see how to scale. Now in this context, I want to share, meaning we have a lot of material on this. I've been doing a 1-year course on this topic. So I want to share 3 ideas that you might find useful if you are running businesses that you are thinking about scaling. And from my experience of having talked to many companies, these 3 ideas I find are kind of very useful for small businesses to think about to help them scale their business. In fact, while I say this as small businesses, we think at Persistent we are in the 6th orbit. And I can see the transitions every time. So over the last 35 years, we have seen when we have shifted orbits, you can feel the change in some sense that, world was very different. And when we look ahead, different things had to happen to make that change. So let me give you the 3 specific things that I want to share with you. So the first specific idea is that in any market, the leaders really get most of the business, and those who are not leaders actually are left with see only the left behinds. And I was very delighted to hear from Rajesh the fact that his company now is pretty much the leader in India and also the top 5 in the world, which is a great thing, because in any market, typically, this is enough management theory to say that the top 3 players, 3 to 4, typically get to about 80% of the market share. And the rest of the companies are fighting for the 20%. So it's a very tricky business that, you are a small business. Now, when people write this theory, they talk about very large companies. All the examples they will share with you are the airlines. Look at how many airlines you have, 2 plus 3, and then the rest are all over the place. You look at telephone carriers or mobile carriers, you had many, now you're down to 2, 3, and then the rest. So you can see this in large markets. But what do you do if I'm running a 25 crore business or a 30 crore business? How do I be a leader in the market that I design? So the key operating term here is the market. Who defines the market? You define the market. So how do you define leadership in your market? So the way I look at this, and the suggestion I would give to you, is that let's say you are running a 25 crore business and you are aspiring to be 100 crores. If you want to be a leader in the market, you should have 20% market share. Because if you have 20% market share, you are definitely within the top 5. Ideally 3 or 4, because there's lots of companies that don't have that. So if I'm looking at a 100 crore market for myself, I should be 20%, which means I should know the 500 crore market that I'm going after. If you know the 500 crore market that you are going after, it is extremely empowering, because you know who the players are, who the buyers are, who's going to be playing in that market, who are the other reasons. Everybody in the company has complete clarity of what market you are trying to go after. So being a player in the market is no fun actually. If you are a leader in the market, then the market comes to you. Buyers, when they are buying a product, they come to the leaders because they know who the leaders are. Leaders are usually well known. So if you are a small business, or any business for that matter, if your business depends on you selling the next deal, then life is very difficult, because there's only so much you can do, and this is how far you'll be able to go. But if you want to get success in the market, you will get success if people come to you because they know of you. And the reason they will know of you is because you are a leader in the market. Now, this particular strategy I have deployed, of course, at Persistent, but also across the board with many companies. And I have hundreds of examples of companies. By just doing this one particular thing, we're able to completely transform their business because it provides you the clarity of what you are trying to do. I see a lot of companies, especially startups, when you see early stage companies, they'll say, oh, I'm trying to hit $1 billion market. Oh, market is really big, $1 billion. Yeah, but why would somebody come to you? You are a very small fly, right? Why would somebody come to you? People will come to you only if they know you. The $1 billion market makes sense if you're a $200 million player. But if you are a small business, then don't look at a $100 billion market or $1 billion market. Look at a market where you can be a 20% player in that market, which would ensure that you are in the top 3. And that is really how you will see the momentum coming to you. So this, I would say, is the number one thing that I would encourage all businesses to think hard about, is to define what market you are playing. And you can define the market in many different ways. You can segment it by region, by product, by whatever else. And there is no beauty in trying to just create random products or just creating new products all the time. You have to dominate the market that you want to play, and doing it right is very important. Now you might say, if I already have 60% market, then what do I do? The 20% market also helps you decide that, okay, if you already have more than 20%, then you are already hitting a market where you don't have much room to grow. So in that case, you need to expand the market. And how do you expand the market? You look at adjacencies, you look at different products, you look at different ways, so that you are hitting about 20%. So you are 1 in 5, which means you are really in the top 3 in the market. So this is really important for every startup or every company to think about. And if you can do this right, it creates immense power for you and for the market, for everyone to know who you are and why you exist. It also helps you hire employees, because employees also know who you are and what you do. So this is the number one thing. The second thing I want to share with you is what MG sir also said in a different way, but I'm going to share it in a slightly different way. The question you have to ask yourselves when you get to the next orbit is, whose company is it? Is it your company or is it our company? And this single transformation from moving from my company to our company, okay, is incredibly powerful and changes the world for most companies. If you look at companies that don't succeed, they don't succeed because the founder thinks it is his company. Companies succeed when it becomes our company. That transition is very hard for founders, but it's essential. No employee wants to come and work for you. They want to work for the mission that we do together. We are in this together because we all believe that we are trying to solve the problem that we all have agreed to do. And it's about the mission that we all work together on. And it's the team that has to get this to happen. And the team will work, if it is our mission, it's our team, and we all work together to make it happen. So this whole thing, if you are a founder of the company and you want to scale your business, the faster you are able to move from my company to our company is really the key to success of most companies. And this has consequences into every kind of activity that happens. It happens within the culture of the company and how you think about it, how you operate, how you provide all the things. All of those signals become very visible. So if you run a company which is your company, then you'll have, when you show up, there'll be somebody who will come and pick your bag up, you will do this and that. Why is he doing it only for you? Why not for everyone else? So when you start saying, this is not my company, it's our company, then you start to think very differently. We are all working together, we all work for the company. And if I'm the CEO of the company, it's my job to ensure that the company succeeds first before defining what is right for me. And this is a thing that happened to me from 97 is when I made this transition. And the reason and how it happened is kind of interesting. So we were in an offsite, and I had we were doing well. We were about 30 people, 40 people company. And this was 97. We had pretty good quality work. We had 30 people right now, 30 to 40 people, 4 PhDs. So very good quality work. And every one of us was coding. And we loved coding. That is part of what we do, and that's the job that we are all good at, right? And then we were getting good business from other people. And he said, hey, I was trying to argue that if we take this more work, then it's more headache for me, and then it's just too much work. Why deal with it? Let's be happy with what we have. Let's do what we can do, and all those kinds of things. So one of the guys in the room said, hey, why are you thinking only about yourself? We are all here. We can do the work. Why do you have to say that you can't do it? We can do it, right? So that kind of opened my eyes. It took me about a year to make the transition from my company to our company. But this single transition of moving to a place where it is our company and you as this owner maybe, but as the CEO of the company, your job is to do what is right for the company. And the day you feel that you are not able to do that, you should not remain the CEO of the company. You should do something else. There are enough things to do. Ownership and management are not the same thing. They can be very different. You can still be the owner of the company, but you don't have to be running the company if you are not thinking about the company as the first thing for what you are trying to do. So that is the second and the most important thing, I would say. So if you are able to convert your company from being my company to our company, that has immense power. Your team feels like working with you. Nobody wants to work for you. They want to work with you. And if you are able to create that environment where we are working together, then good things happen and you will see tremendous benefit out of this. And that has the ability to create cascading effects as you go along. So as was mentioned, we have about 25,000 employees. Okay, there's no way I know anybody. I know very few people in the company right now. I've not been the CEO of the company for the last 6 years. But the company runs on its own because it's not my company or any one person's company. It is our company, and we do things because we have a mission and we are all aligned to the mission. Nobody works for anybody. We all work for the company. And that is what makes the difference in terms of how you need to get to. The third thing I want to mention here is something, so I mentioned the first was about the importance of leadership. The second part was the importance of building our company rather than my company. And this is kind of very important. And the third thing that I want to mention is that, when founders run the business, they typically get it into their head that they are owners, they're the malik, they're the boss and all that stuff. You need a mirror to yourself to ask the right questions. Are you doing the right things? So I highly recommend that even if you are a very small business, you should create a board with some independent directors. This is a great feature that we have now. Any company who is private limited must have a board. Most of the companies that I talk to, they have boards which are only their family members or people who just stamp or just put some paperwork together. Having a clear board with some independent directors will help you defining many things for you. One is they give you a mirror. When you go to a board meeting and tell them this is what you're going to do next quarter and the quarter after that, all of a sudden it puts some discipline on you. It forces you to think about what you are trying to do and are you getting to what you said you would do. It holds you accountable for your own promises. And that is very, very important. And there are many other benefits that you get from having people who are outside of your business looking at the business from a different lens along with you. And that's a great privilege. And a lot of people when I meet and say, why didn't you do this? They all ask, okay, where can I find board members? But if you really think around and look around, and now that I'm kind of in that zone where I'm past 60, I have many of my friends who have just retired from different places. And there are so many people who are willing to contribute. And especially if you look at companies, here we have mostly entrepreneurs, but when you look at companies, there are so many of my friends who always aspired to be an entrepreneur but never did. They are all very happy to help entrepreneurs be part of their boards and help them with various kinds of things. They bring a network together, they bring in new ideas, new views. They bring some discipline, bring processes, a whole bunch of things that happen by getting a board together. So I wanted to share these three main ideas with you. So one was, again, as I said, being a leader is very important. Not being a leader is kind of tough. If you are in your own business, take a look at where you stand in the leadership place. Are you the leader in the market? When you ask the market, do they count you as a leader? And what should you do to become a leader in the market? The second thing that I mentioned was regarding how do you build the team, but it's not about people who work for you. You want people who work with you. So it's about building our company rather than my company. And the third thing is, I think there is value in creating boards, and I highly recommend looking at good corporate governance, and boards will really help you make that happen. So I know it's pretty late. I know you're all waiting for dinner as well. So I would like to stop here and thank you for being patient, and thank you, Rajesh, for inviting me. And I want to wish the book all the very best, and hopefully in the next event we will see 1 million copies sold banner with her. So wish you all the very best. Thank you.